It happened back in 2024, deep in the jungle near Manaus. Joint training with the Brazilians, heat, mud, bugs, same miserable routine. Then they sent us farther in, to some sector the locals wouldn't even name. After that, guys started disappearing. The forest went dead quiet, like it was waiting. And at night, we could feel the ground move under us. Not thunder, not the weather, something else. You really want to know what it was? Then stick around till the end. So before we continue, please make sure to like and subscribe to support the channel and comment down below where you're watching from. Thanks. We were in northern Brazil, outside Manaus, jungle training with the Brazilians. Real deal, not the watered down stuff. Humid air that never left your lungs. Dark river next to base, water almost black when the sun dropped. Smell of mud, smoke from cooking fires, sweat, and bug repellent in every breath. We called it a base, but it was more a cluster of low buildings, tents, and sheds hacked out of the trees. The Brazilian army ran it. They're jungle warfare guys. Hard people. Quiet. You could tell they lived out there, not just trained there. Morning started before first light. Always the same. Run down the dirt track along the river. Boots slipping in wet clay, shirt soaked before the sun even came up. Mosquitoes already in the air. You slapped them away until you stopped caring. After runs, we choked down breakfast. Strong Brazilian coffee that could peel paint. Rice, beans, sometimes eggs. We traded. They passed us sweet bread and coffee. We slid them MRE snacks. Peanut butter, jalapeno cheese, Skittles. The usual. Always the same dumb jokes about who would get dysentery first. Then classes. Survival in the jungle. How to light a fire when everything is soaked. How to string hammocks so the rain runs off and the ants do not run down on your face. How to find water that does not make you shit your guts out. Paolo and the other instructors showed us trees to cut, vines to tap, which frogs to leave alone, which snakes meant instant medevac if you were lucky. SGSC. Paulo Rocha was our main Brazilian instructor, mid-30s. Brown, wiry, tough. You could see the forest in him. He said it straight, you do not fight the jungle, you live with it. If you fight it, it wins. He grew up not far from there. Said the forest remembered things. Said that more than once. Just dropped it in when he talked about old trails and places you did not walk alone. Our US squad was small. That was the point, joint training with their people. I was CC Daniel Cole, Dan, squad leader. My job was simple in my head, bring everyone home. That was the line I kept in my brain. Do the training. Bring them home. We had FCC, Jay Miller, mid-20s. Smart mouth. Always on his phone back in the States, reading weird forums about cryptids and haunted places. He called himself an expert in weird shit. Loved talking about living dinosaurs in the Amazon, big reptiles people swore were still stomping around. Then there was SPCC, Elena Reyes, our medic, quiet. Sharp eyes. The kind who saw everything and didn't say much unless it mattered. She kept a tiny notebook in her breast pocket. Wrote short notes all the time. Symptoms, times, doses, little sketches of plants. She cared hard about anyone hurt. You could see it in the way she set her aid bag up every night. Checked it twice. On the Brazilian side, we had Paulo. And we had Altine Ana Moreira. She was in charge of the combined group, late 20s. Straight posture, stone face, not cruel, just controlled. She followed orders, no bullshit. It was clear she knew more than she shared. Days blurred, moved through thick trees in a staggered column, night vision in pouches, rifles slung, learning to place your boots so they did not sync up to the me, learning to shut up and listen, whole forest buzzing. Insects, birds, frogs, sometimes you could not even hear your own thoughts. We crossed blackwater creeks on ropes, hands burning, leeches grabbing your ankles when you waited. Paulo showed us how to sprinkle salt and burn them off quick. Elena checked everyone's feet each night. She'd grumble, "You want to keep your legs, let me see your damn blisters." In the evenings when training paused, it almost felt normal. We sat around small cooking fires. Smoke stung the eyes. Brazilians boiled coffee so strong it made your heart jump. Someone always passed around a dented speaker, music low. We tried each other's food, joked about who smelled worse. That was when Jay got going. He would lean back in his hammock or squat by the fire and start on his stories. "You know there are reports," he said one night, waving a spoon, "of big reptiles downriver from here, not crocs. Stuff that walks. People call them neo-dinosaurs, or whatever. Miners see them. Hunters see them. Government covers it up." Paolo rolled his eyes. "Man, you read too much bullshit." Jay grinned. "Come on, Sargento. You telling me your forest has no secrets?" Paolo poked the fire. He did not smile this time. "The forest has many things," he said. "Some you see, some you do not call." He stood and walked away to check gear. He did not actually say Jay was wrong. That stuck with me. About a week in, we got the wider mission brief. They pulled us into a cinder-block classroom that smelled of mildew and chalk. Ceiling fans spun slow, pushing hot air around. There was a big map of the Amazon on the wall. North, south, rivers curling everywhere. One section in the southwest was blurred out under a tape sticker. Looked lazy, like someone forgot to print a better map and just slapped something on. It covered a chunk near the border with Acre. A Brazilian captain gave the standard talk: joint training, jungle survival, navigation, river operations, blah blah. Nothing weird. Then the radio on the desk crackled. Anna stepped over, listened, answered in quick Portuguese. Her face did not give away much, but her jaw tensed a little. She turned to the room. "New tasking. We will conduct an extended field exercise in the southwest sector, near the Acre border. Hire wants more detailed terrain familiarity there." Jay leaned toward me and whispered that the part they redacted in the Indiana Jones movie. I brushed him off. "Shut it. Listen." Anna went on about route plans, supply drops, comm windows, all standard. We'd go by river and truck, then move on foot into a remote training area. She kept saying training area, like she was reading straight off a script. When it wrapped up, people filed out in twos and threes, complaining about more days in the bush. Paolo stayed behind with me. He tugged at the brim of his jungle hat, eyes on that covered patch on the map. "Dan," he said, voice low, "that southwest zone. People get lost there and stories stay. The Army calls it training ground. Locals call it other things. They do not go." I stared at the taped square. "So why are we going?" He shrugged once. "Orders." He did not smile. That was the last normal night. We left the next morning. The air felt heavier. Maybe that was in my head. We loaded onto a river barge. Flat deck, rust on the rails. Two small engines that coughed dark smoke when they kicked in. The dark river spread broad at first, then narrowed as we moved south. Forest walls rose higher on both sides. Trees packed tight. Vines hanging down, dripping water. Morning fog clung to the surface of the river. It slid around the hull in slow swirls. We stood on deck in full kit, helmets off, shirts open, sweating. Villages grew smaller as we went. A few stilt houses here and there. Kids waving on the banks. Then even that stopped. One village we passed near midday had boarded windows. No smoke from the cook fires. No dogs, no voices. Just empty shacks and boats pulled high up on the mud, tied and left. "Looks friendly," Jay muttered. Paolo stared at the place with a tight jaw. He did not wave. We kept going until the river narrowed into a channel that felt more like a flooded hallway. The skipper finally killed the engines at a small wooden jetty. Just a crooked dock bolted to the mud bank, a shack with a tin roof leaning beside it. An old fisherman sat there mending a net, skin like leather, white stubble, bare feet in the mud. A few fish lay in a plastic tub by his side. One of the Brazilian soldiers hopped onto the dock and asked about buying fish for the trip ahead. When he said where we were going, the old man froze. He stared past us toward the dark trees. Voice dropped. I caught some of it. My Portuguese was rough but not useless. "O lagarto velho andala," he said. "Nas noite barulhentas." The old lizard walks there, on loud nights. He shook his head. "A floresta now devolve, okay come. The forest does not give back what it eats." Paolo answered loud enough for us to hear. "Stories for tourists, Senhor. We are army, only training." The old man's eyes slid over our rifles and helmets and rucks. He did not look impressed. He pushed the tub of fish back with his foot. "No fish for that path," he said. We shoved off with less food than planned. No one joked much after that. From the jetty, we moved by truck. Old green troop carriers, open backs, benches on both sides. We bumped along a red dirt road cut through the jungle. No real shoulders, just trunks and thick brush right up against the ruts. The air got even wetter somehow. Heat wrapped around us. Sweat soaked our vests, ran into our eyes. Storms come fast out there. This one slammed us hard. One moment the sky was just gray. Next, it cracked open. Rain hammered down so thick we could barely see the truck ahead. The road turned to slick mud in minutes. One truck fishtailed. Rear wheels drifted toward the ditch. We all started yelling, banging on the metal. The driver gunned it, wheels spinning, mud flying, the whole truck sliding sideways until it finally bit into firmer ground and jerked back online. We had to stop twice to clear fallen branches and one whole tree that had come down across the track. No chainsaw, just axes and machetes, hacking and swearing while water poured down our necks. At one stop, a Brazilian private jumped off to piss near a clump of roots. He screamed and fell back. A snake had been coiled there, almost invisible. It struck and missed bare skin by an inch or so, hit his pant leg. He was sure he had been bitten. He shook so hard he could barely talk. Elena grabbed him, sat him down in the mud, cut his pant leg open with trauma shears. No puncture, just a smear of venom and slime where the fangs had hit cloth. She cleaned it fast, eyes steady. "You are fine. Calm down. You got lucky as hell." The guy still sobbed. Real fear. We all watched the snake slide back under the roots, silent. By the time we rolled into the new training area, everything we had was soaked. Packs, hammocks, even the inside of our boots. We had to set up camp in heavy rain. Hammocks strung between trees, mosquito nets drooping, rain flies flapping. None of it wanted to cooperate. Fires would not start. The tinder turned to mush in our hands. Eventually, Paolo and another instructor managed to coax a few small flames out of a nest of dry stuff they had kept in waterproof bags. The rest of us huddled close to that heat. That night felt wrong. Hard to explain. The jungle never fully sleeps, but there were stretches when it went too quiet. Like someone hit a switch. One moment, insects buzzing, frogs croaking, leaves brushing together. Next moment, just rain, and under that, something else. Every now and then, a low boom rolled across the forest. Not thunder, not artillery. Almost the sound of something heavy hitting wet ground. Far away, but not far enough. I lay in my hammock, staring at the dark. My clothes still damp. Rifle hanging within arm's reach. The air smelled of wet leaves, smoke, and something faint underneath. Old meat. Jay whispered from the next tree over. "You hear that breathing?" I listened. At first, I thought he was screwing with me. Then I caught it. A slow pull, a slow push. Deep, not close, but big. Probably some big cow in heat, I muttered. Sleep. Truth was, I did not believe my own line. In the morning, Elena found the first print. She had gone behind camp to take a leak, boots sinking in the mud. She called out in a tight voice. We moved over, rifle slung but ready. There it was beside a shallow, muddy pool. 3 clear toes, deep claw points at the front. Heel pressed down hard, part filled with rainwater. Big, wide enough to swallow her boot whole with room to spare. We all stared. No one talked for a few seconds. Jay broke it. "That is not a fucking taper." Anna stepped in, jaw set. "No photos," she ordered. "Everyone clear. It is a deformed taper print. Focus on your tasks." Jay snorted. "Taper my ass." I shot him a look. He shut up, but his eyes stayed on that track. We went about the day, but the mood had changed. We moved a bit tighter, watched the trees more, jokes dried up. That night, as we lay in our hammocks again, the sound came. A long, deep call rolling through the forest. Not high like a bird, not choppy like monkeys. One single drawn-out blast that felt more than heard. It made the cords on my hammock vibrate. Nobody said anything for a while. Then I heard Paolo whisper a short prayer in Portuguese. Just a few words. Voice rough. That bothered me more than the call. Next day we went out on patrol. They called it a land nav exercise. For us, it was work, mixed squad. A handful of us, Americans, a handful of Brazilians. Paolo up front, Me floating near the middle, Anna in the rear with a radio. Map and compass only, no GPS. We pushed into the training area, away from the road and river. Real jungle. Underbrush thick and grabby, vines catching your gear. Ants marching over everything. Each step took thought. Roots under leaves, holes under mud. You had to pick your footfalls, or end up twisted in the dirt. My uniform snagged on thorns that sliced the fabric like nothing. Shoulders and arms got scratched raw. We crossed little streams with dark water, stepping on slippery rocks or dead logs. Leeches flicked toward us in the water. Everyone started checking ankles every time we stopped. After an hour or two, we hit a small rise. From there, we saw it. A tree ahead, thick as a small car, snapped halfway up. Not cut. Broken. The top half lay off to the side, not near the base. It had been flung or dropped there and buried its branches deep in the mud. Leaves still green, sap dripping from the jagged break. We circled it in silence. Jay said, "Stormed it then?" I shook my head. Wind takes branches. Maybe a whole tree if the roots go. It does not snap it clean midway. On the broken trunk there was a smear. Thick, slimy, dark. The smell hit us first. Rust, shit, and rotten meat mixed together. Elena gagged, pulled her shirt over her nose. What the hell? Paolo touched it with a stick. The slime stretched, stringy, then broke. He watched it drip to the ground. His face went tight and flat. Some animal, Anna said. Maybe it fell. Move on, stay focused. But she kept looking at the tree line while she said it. We kept moving. The air got still. No breeze. Sweat ran down my back and sat there trapped. In a shallow gully we found the dead animal. Tapir, I think. Could have been a big wild pig, hard to tell by then. Half-eaten, bones cracked in half. Ribs torn into long strips, hanging. Most of the spine crushed. No neat claw marks like you see from big cats. No drag trail leading to the stream like when a croc pulls something. It looked like something had come down on it from above. We gathered around. Smell was thick and sweet, flies already on it. Elena crouched, covering her nose with one sleeve. She traced the arc of the bite with her fingers, then pulled a small tape measure from her pocket. She stressed it across the marks, lips moving as she counted. That was her thing. Measure, record, figure. Even there, she stood up, eyes wide. This is too big. No jaguar has a jaw this wide. No known cat does. Not around here. Jay whispered. Told you, dinosaur jaws. Enough, I snapped. Keep your head in. This is training, not a podcast. He shrugged but did not argue. Kept staring at the carcass though. Paolo walked a slow circle, scanning the trees, the ground, everything. His hand rested on his rifle grip. We should report this now, he told Anna. Same with the track from yesterday. This is not normal. Not even here. Anna's jaw worked. We will log it when we get back. Hire will want details. For now, we stick to the route. I saw it in his eyes. He did not like that, but he nodded. Orders were orders. We pushed on. No one talked much. Even Jay stayed quiet. Only sounds were gear creaking and boots pushing through brush. On the way back, things went wrong. We had a Brazilian private as rear guard. Good kid. Kept a decent distance, watched our backs. I checked on him now and then with hand signals. Thumbs up, all good. Then at one point I looked back. He was not there. I called a halt. Rear? No answer. We moved back along the trail, rifles up now. Jungle felt closer all of a sudden. After maybe 30 yards, we found his pack. It lay sideways in the mud, one strap torn free, the other still buckled. The torn strap looked shredded, not cut, threads hanging. Boot prints behind it showed where he had been walking. Then they changed. The impressions got deeper, like he had been yanked. Then just long slide marks in the mud, gouged straight off the trail into the brush. We followed the slide marks a few steps. They ended at a tangle of roots and ferns. No body, no blood. Just broken stems, smashed leaves, disturbed soil. On a tree trunk nearby, at about chest height, were 3 long, deep scratches. Bark torn off in wet ribbons. Nobody said a word for a long beat. Anna finally spoke. We pull back. Now. We returned to camp moving fast, spacing tighter. Every twig snap made fingers jump on triggers. Shadows between trees felt full. Back at camp, chaos. Brazilians talking rapid fire. Americans demanding to know what the hell just happened. Some people wanted to push back out and keep searching. Others wanted to head straight for the road and call for an immediate extraction. Anna called higher on the radio. Static chewed half the words. When she tried to go into detail about the tracks and the body and the dead tapir, the signal broke up even worse. Repeat, over, the voice kept saying, then cutting out. Our second radio had the same issues. Whenever we talked about movements, ammo, or med supplies, the signal was mostly fine. As soon as we tried to mention big tracks, broken trees, missing man, it turned into noise. By night, nerves were raw. The jungle around camp glowed dim green in our night vision, everything wet and shifting. Around midnight, something huge moved just beyond the circle of our lights. I heard it first. Heavy steps in the mud. Slow, deliberate, brush bending and snapping. Then a metal pot went flying, clanging across the dirt. A hammock pole blew apart with a crack. Someone screamed, half awake. We poured out of our hammocks, night vision dropping down, rifles snapping to shoulders. I saw shapes between trees, nothing clear. Shadows on shadows. By the time we got the area lit with more lamps and chem lights, it was gone. No eye shine, no body, just a lingering smell of rot and mud. Elena pointed to the middle of camp. There, in the soil between two tents, pressed deep enough that water was already pooling, was another three-toed print. Same shape, same size as the one behind camp. Whatever was out there was not just passing through. It had walked right into the middle of our living space. We woke up mean the next morning. No real sleep. Everyone wired and hollow-eyed. The ground around camp told the story before anyone said a word. More tracks. Big three-toed prints circling us. Some on the trail. Some in the muck behind the latrine pit. It was as if something had walked a slow ring around us while we slept, staying just outside the light most of the time, then stepping in close for a better look. A supply crate sat crushed near the edge of camp. The wood was cracked and caved inward, nails bent. Inside, our dry rations were destroyed, bags split open, hard biscuits powdered. Rice mixed into the mud. Something heavy had stepped on it. We did a quick count. Food was now a problem. Maybe enough for a couple of days if we rationed hard. After that, we'd be trapping, fishing, or starving. The missing Brazilian private was still gone. No calls on the radio. No response to whistles or signal shots, just silence from the forest. The jungle itself started to grind us down faster. Ants got into everything. Wake up. And there they were in your boots, on your socks, crawling into seams of your clothes. We spent long minutes just shaking and brushing ourselves off each morning. The wet never left. Our feet turned soft and white from soaking. Small cuts along the ankles began to look angry. One Brazilian soldier sliced his hand on a sharp edge of metal and kept going. A day later, the cut puffed up, hot to the touch, streaks of red running up toward his elbow. Elena worked over him with what she had. Cleaned it, started antibiotics, wrapped it. I saw the strain on her face. Supplies were not endless. Fever simmered in him by afternoon. Our boots sprouted patches of white fungus along the stitching. Rifles grew a thin film of rust overnight if you did not baby them. We ran cleaning rods and oil through them every chance we got. Sweat soaked the slings, never dried. Water was in plenty but not simple. The creeks were muddy and dark. We had to boil everything or run it through filters that clogged fast. We were low on fuel tabs, so we started leaning on wood fires. Thick smoke rolled through camp, made eyes sting, and told anything with a nose exactly where we were. In the middle of that, Higher finally came back on the radio. Anna crouched by the set, headset on, scribbling notes. When she was done, she called the squad leaders over. "Command says we maintain position," she said. "We are to observe and report any further unusual animal behavior." Their words. Jay nearly laughed. Animal behavior. That what they call it now. "There is bad weather over the region," Anna went on. "Helos are grounded for now. They do not want to risk birds for what they say is a possible jaguar or large reptile issue. We are to keep calm and continue the exercise." "So we are bait," I said. She held my stare for a second. "We are soldiers. We follow orders." That was not an answer. Later that day, we tried to track any sign of the missing man again. Instead, we found people's mess. About an hour from camp, we stumbled on a small illegal mining site. You could smell fuel and metal before you saw it. There were a few shacks made from rough boards, plastic sheets, and tarps. A generator that had once hummed away. Metal drums, hoses, pumps. All of it wrecked. Huts smashed flat. Roofs peeled back. The generator casing was bent inward, like someone had pressed down hard on it. Metal drums crumpled. Not from rust, from force. We saw regular tool marks cut into some trees around the site. Chainsaws, axes. But higher up the trunks, much higher than a man could reach without a ladder, were massive gouges. Deep cuts in the bark and wood. Those were not from tools. Birds flew in short bursts over the canopy, then vanished. The day grew oddly still again. Later, back near camp, we heard it. Slow, deep footsteps, somewhere out in the trees. Hard to tell direction. The ground carried it in little pulses. It was not constant. A step, a pause, another step. It reminded me of someone rolling heavy barrels over damp earth, one shove at a time. Then, without warning, a wave of birds burst out of the canopy ahead of us. Hundreds. Wings beating, screeches sharp. They rose and scattered, then it all went quiet again. Jay had been recording some of the sounds on a little handheld device. That night he played something back. A roar we had barely heard at the edge of hearing earlier. Amplified, it made our chests feel tight. Not because it was loud on the speaker, because something in the tone turned your guts cold. At dusk, one of the Brazilian soldiers on lookout swore he saw it. We were pulling security along a ridge, the light dropping fast. Through a gap in the trees, he caught movement deeper in the forest. He hissed for us. I moved next to him, brought my binoculars up. Between trunks, I saw branches shaking higher up, leaves tumbling down. Something big pushed through. For a couple of heartbeats, I saw a huge shape slide past the opening. Long neck, thick tail. The torso was massive, broad. It moved on two heavy legs, shoulders rolling with each step. Then it was gone, swallowed by the green. The soldier fired without asking. Short burst. Rounds snapped off into the trees. Everyone reacted, guns up, fingers tight. "Cease," I yelled. "You did not even know what you were shooting at." From the forest came a single roar. The air around us vibrated. Then branches crashed as something moved deeper, faster. It did not sound scared. It sounded pissed. We pushed forward maybe 20, 30 yards before I called it. Visibility dropped, ground turned slick. We did not want to chase that thing blind. On the ground where it had moved through, the soil was torn. Massive prints sunk deep into the mud. You could put two boots side by side in one and still have room. There was blood too. Thick drops of dark stuff, almost black, spattered along a crushed line of ferns. We followed it only a short distance until the jungle swallowed the trail. The light was almost gone. I made the call to fall back. No one argued. That night, the river next to camp sounded different. We heard something wading in it. Not a man. Not some small animal. Heavy, slow movements through water. The surface sloshed, then smoothed. A large shadow moved along the far bank. Bigger than any boat I had seen out there. For a moment, its shape blotted out the faint glow on the water. Then it slid under the surface without a splash. Just gone. I stood there on the bank, rifle hanging, sweat cold on my neck. That was when it hit me fully. Whatever was out there did not fear us at all. We were not the hunters. Next day, we tried to get ahead of it. Anna ordered a move to a more open patch. A low area of tall grass and shallow standing water about a click from camp. The idea was to set a clearer perimeter. Better lines of fire. Less blind jungle. Sun hammered us. The sky was hard and white overhead. Fog still hugged the ground, rolling over our boots. Every step in the grass sent up tiny clouds of insects. Shirts glued to our backs. We set up a loose ring. Claymores faced out. Sectors assigned. Some of us in the grass, some tucked behind fallen logs and low rise. Elena set up a casualty collection point near a cluster of thicker trees, laid out bandages and tourniquets. I felt the first vibration in my boots, very faint. I thought it was my heart at first, then it came again. A steady thump under the soil, Feel that? Jay asked, eyes wide. The grass began to sway in a slow wave, not from wind. Small animals burst out. Rodents, lizards, whatever called that patch home. They scattered in every direction, many running straight through our positions like we did not exist. Trees ahead shook, branches snapped. Then it stepped into view. Nothing prepares you. Not movies, not Jay's bullshit stories. It stood on two legs. Body huge, tail stretched behind to keep it balanced. Skin dark, caked with mud and streaks of dried blood. Old scars crossed its flanks. Some places were raw and open, pale tissue exposed, where something had torn chunks out before. Its head was long and heavy. Rows of teeth jagged and broken. Some looked snapped in half, others chipped. Thick saliva hung in strands from its jaws. Its eyes were a dull, dirty yellow. No shine of curiosity in them, just hunger and a steady, dead focus. It smelled awful. Rot, iron, wet earth. Someone whispered, "Holy shit," and then the world exploded. We opened up. Rifle snapped in full auto and burst. A machine gun hammered from the right. Bullets struck its chest and neck, dark blood spraying out in thick clumps. It threw its head back and roared. The sound hit us like a blast. My teeth hurt from it. Then it came. It charged, each step pounding the ground. The earth shook under my boots. One Brazilian soldier froze in the open. Total lockup. The animal's foot came down on him. I heard bones break before his scream even started. When the foot lifted, he did not move. Another tried to sidestep. The tail whipped across the grass and caught him. It threw him into a tree trunk hard enough that I heard the crack from where I was. He slid down and did not get up. Eyes, mouth, joints, I yelled, throat raw. Hit the soft spots. We moved in broken bounds, firing, dropping behind whatever cover we had. Fallen logs, mud hummocks, anything. Smoke grenades went off, coughing white and gray curtains. Flares streaked into the air, harsh red and white cutting through the haze. The beast snapped its jaws at the bursts of light. Tail smashed another log near me, splinters flying. We kept shooting. Rounds chewed up its snout, neck, the base of its legs. Blood poured down its side. Dark patches spread across its hide. Elena dragged the wounded back. I saw her grab one Brazilian by his vest straps and haul him through mud while rounds cracked overhead. She slid in behind a log, hands already working to stop the bleeding in his leg. The dinosaur, there was no other word now, snapped at one of the smoke grenades. The can rolled and hissed under its teeth before dropping. It coughed and shook its head, blinded for a second. That gave us a bit more room. We kept pressure on, controlled bursts. Aim, fire, move. At some point I realized I was screaming as I shot. Everyone was. Wordless, just trying to drown fear with noise. Finally, with blood pouring from its face and neck, it stumbled. One of its knees buckled. It listed sideways, shoulder smashing into a clump of trees. The trunk snapped, came down with it. It crashed through them, then turned, half stumbling, and pushed itself back into the thicker forest. Trees broke as it forced its way through. The ground shook with each lurching step. Then the sound of its movement faded. Just echoing roars and the rustle of broken branches behind. We held our positions, guns still trained on the direction it had gone. No one wanted to move first. When it was clear it was gone, for now, the silence felt even worse. We counted our dead and wounded. Faces we had joked with at breakfast were now still shapes on the grass. Shattered limbs. Blood turning dark on uniforms. The air hummed with flies already moving back in. Some of the Brazilians cursed and cried openly. A few Americans did too, fists clenched so hard their knuckles went white. Anna was on the radio in seconds, voice sharper than I had heard it. "This is Moreira," she snapped. "Contact with large, unidentified predator. Multiple KIA and WIA. We engaged and inflicted heavy damage, but it is still mobile. We require immediate medevac and reinforcement. Do you copy?" Static, then a cool voice. Too calm for what we had just been through. "Copy partial," the voice said. "Maintain security. Collect any samples you can. Avoid causing panic. Aircraft availability is limited. Stand by for further tasking. No promise of birds in the air now. No time. Just more standby." I watched Anna's face harden. I could tell she heard the same thing I did. We were not top priority. Something else was. Later, as we checked the area, Elena called me over. She crouched over a patch of mud where the creature's blood had pooled. The plants at the edge were burned. Leaves curled in on themselves, edges black and brittle. Grass lay flat and brown as if fire had kissed it. She pointed at Jay's forearm. During the fight, a tiny droplet of blood had landed there. The skin around it was red, raw, starting to blister. She swabbed it with clean water and antiseptic, jaw tight. "Feels like a chemical burn," she said. "This stuff is not right." Jay forced a grin. "Still want me to get a selfie with it?" No one laughed. Storms rolled in again that night, real ones this time. Lightning and thunder. Sheets of rain that turned the ground into soup. The helicopters never came. The radio excuse stayed the same. Weather, distance, other priorities. Hold your ground. Observe. Food was almost gone. We ate the last of the rations, cold and soggy. Talk about fishing and trapping came up, but no one liked the idea of standing waist deep in any water nearby now. The thought of what swam or walked through it made stomachs twist. Sleep came in short, ugly chunks. Someone woke up screaming every few hours, thinking the roar was back. Rifles were clutched even while people tried to drift off. We moved around camp during the day looking for anything that could help. That was when we found the old crates. Half buried by roots and years of fallen leaves, rusted metal corners sticking out. We dug one out. The wood was rotted but held together enough to pry the lid off. Inside were foam inserts for equipment, broken dart tips, metal cases for syringes long empty, thick leather and synthetic straps, the kind used to hold down big animals. Some still had buckles, others were snapped and frayed as if they had been stressed hard. The crates had faded English labels, not Portuguese. You could still make out some words, company names I did not recognize, serial numbers, hazard symbols. In a plastic envelope half destroyed by moisture, a few papers survived. Most of the print had run, but some words were still clear. Live capture, subject, containment failure. I felt my mouth go dry. Jay held one of the straps in his hands, fingers tracing the torn end. "This thing did not just survive from dinosaur times," he said. "Someone brought it back, or found it and kept it alive, then lost it." Elena shook her head slowly. "A natural monster is bad enough. People doing this on purpose is worse." Anna stared at the labels a long time. There was recognition there. I saw it, but when I asked, she just said, "Old junk. Probably some research project from years ago. Has nothing to do with our mission." Her voice did not match her eyes. As the day faded, the air thickened. That pressure you get before a storm, only this time the storm was already overhead. And the thing out there knew we were hurt and low. At night, it came back. Not in a full rush. Not like the last time. This was worse. It circled. Stayed just beyond the tree line, between trunks, stepping in and out of our night vision. Sometimes we heard its breathing. Heavy, wet pulls. Sometimes we caught the dull shape of its back moving behind a stand of trees, or the slow shift of its tail. It did not charge. It just tested. Knocked a tree every so often. Snapped a big branch and let it crash. Each time, jumpy fingers sprayed rounds into the dark. We were burning ammo on ghosts, while the real thing stayed just out of reach. Rain poured down, washing away tracks as fast as they formed. Our claymores sat half submerged in mud, detonators wrapped in plastic. Once, a dead branch broke free overhead and slammed down inches from Elena's hammock. It tore a hole in her rainfly and dug into the mud where her legs had been. She rolled out cursing, shaken. Deeper in the forest, every now and then, we heard a new sound. Not the roar, not the steps. A clicking. Slow, uneven, rock-tapping bone. It traveled, moved, faded, then came back from another direction. Nobody liked that sound. At one point, in a short window when the radio decided to behave, Anna stepped away to make a call. I heard her switch to Portuguese, voice low. I do not know every word, but I caught enough. "Sample," she said. "Still alive. Team inbound. Not rescue. Not evac." When she came back, I asked, "Who was that?" "Command," she said. "Same as always." I did not push it, but the knot in my gut pulled tighter. Later that night, I stood on watch, rain in my face, night vision turned up, listening. Lightning flashed, bright enough to turn the world into a washed-out frame for a heartbeat. That was when I saw them. Not one shape. Two. The larger dinosaur stood deeper in the trees. It limped, head low, hide torn where we had hit it. Blood glistened in streaks. Beside it, closer to the ground, moved a second shape, smaller, faster. Its head snapped side to side, checking the dark. Body low, motions sharp. Then the lightning died. Darkness slammed back in. A few seconds later, from somewhere past our perimeter, something screamed. Not human, high and broken. I stood there, rifle in my hands, rain soaking into everything, and realized we were caught between the jungle, the monsters, and our own chain of command. None of them cared much if we made it out. By morning, everyone knew we could not sit there and wait anymore. The wounded were getting worse. Food was gone. Ammo was low. The dinosaur, or dinosaurs, had the terrain and the patience. We moved to the river, I told Anna. We followed the streams down, find any spot a boat can reach, shoot up flares, whatever it takes. Staying here is slow death. She looked tired. Dark rings under her eyes, mud dried on her face. Command wants us to hold, she said. Command is not here, I shot back. The thing is coming closer every night. We have wounded who will not survive days. You know this. She stared at the trees for a long moment. Then she nodded once. We move at first light. Pack what we can carry. Nothing extra. We broke camp fast, what was left of it. We wrapped the worst wounded in ponchos, lashed them to makeshift stretchers made from poles and webbing. Others with lighter injuries limped along under their own power. We started walking. The jungle did not suddenly go kind on us. Mud grabbed our boots with every step. In some places it came up near the knee. Leeches attached in seconds. We did not even stop to pick them off. We just pulled them away as we moved, fingers slick with our own blood. Thunder rumbled overhead. After a while it felt constant. Water dripped from every leaf. The entire forest seemed to sweat with us. Our columns stretched thin. Stronger ones up front, pacing the rest. Paulo moved between groups, calling out small warnings about hidden holes or bad plants even now. Still doing his job, we dropped down into a narrow gully, walls on both sides steep and slick with mud and roots. It was the only way forward without a long detour. Water flowed in a thin stream at the bottom, brown and slow. I hated how boxed in it felt. Trees leaned over from both sides. Sky just a strip above. Halfway along, the world tore open. Trees ahead exploded outward. Mud and water blasted into the air. The dinosaur burst through the side of the gully. It was worse up close now. Wounds from our earlier fight had left open strips of flesh along its neck and chest. You could see pale bone in spots. Parts of its ribs pushed against torn skin. It bled from fresh gashes too, maybe from fighting something else in the jungle. If it was hurting, rage kept it moving. It dropped into the gully with all its weight. The ground jumped. Some of us fell to our knees. We were pinned between the steep slopes and this thing bearing down the channel. "Contact front," I yelled, voice cracking. We scattered as best we could, sliding up the muddy sides, grabbing roots to pull ourselves up a few feet, anything to get out of the direct path. Some slipped and fell right back to the bottom. The dinosaur barreled forward, jaws snapping. Paulo did not hesitate. He broke from cover and ran into the open center of the gully, firing bursts straight at its head. "Over here," he shouted. Aqui, Pora. It saw him. That was his plan. Its foot came down. He disappeared under it. There was no time for him to even move. I saw his hat spin off and land in the mud. Another Brazilian, slower to react, tried to dart along the wall. The animal's head dropped. Jaws opened, then shut around him. The sound was wet and final. His rifle clattered away. We fired up at it from the sides. Rounds chewed into its face and neck. Chunks of tissue flew off in clots. "Eyes and knees," I shouted. "Take its legs out." Jay, bleeding from a cut on his cheek, pulled a flare from his vest. He yanked the cap off, the flare hissing bright. When the dinosaur roared again, mouth wide, he threw it straight in. The flare bounced once and slid down its throat. Light poured out between its teeth and from its nostrils. For a second, we saw deep inside. There were old scars in there. metal fragments, lines that looked like stitches, evidence of knives and tools where no knife should ever have been. It jerked its head back, trying to cough the flare out. Smoke poured from its mouth. It clawed at its own throat with tiny arms that were no help. "Elena, grenades," I yelled. She had the last of them. 2 frags. She looked at the slopes, then at the beast's legs. She pulled pins and pushed both grenades into a weak section of the wall. Mud and loose rock, barely held together by roots. Then she dove back, dragging a wounded soldier with her. The blast shook the entire gully. Mud and stones slid down in a rush. The mini landslide crashed into the dinosaur's front legs. One knee bent sideways with a sick crack. It roared again, eyes wild, thrashing. We concentrated fire on its face. Rounds punched into its eyes. One eye burst in a spray of dark fluid. The other turned milky and started to leak. With both eyes blind and one knee shattered, it finally lost balance. It slipped in the churned mud. Back leg skidded. It toppled sideways into a swampy hollow at the side of the gully, deeper and nastier than it had looked at first glance. It hit hard. Tail smashed into trees, snapping them like twigs. Water and muck surged up, covering part of its torso. It thrashed, tail whipping, jaws snapping at nothing. Each movement weaker than the last. We stood on the slopes, panting, coughing, clothes coated in mud and blood, guns still trained. Its breathing turned to long, rattling gasps. Chest rose and fell slower. Finally, it just lay there, massive body half submerged, head resting on a hummock, dark blood mixing with the swamp water. No one trusted that it was dead, but it was not going anywhere on its own. Some people started shaking as the adrenaline bled out. Jay leaned against the slope, laughing once in a way that did not sound sane. Elena moved through the survivors, checking wounds with hands that trembled but did not stop. We barely had time to even talk about what to do next when we heard them. Helicopters. Not the big Brazilian birds we had seen back near Manaus. Smaller, sleeker machines. Their sound cut through the jungle noise, coming in fast. 2 of them. Dark paint. No flags. No obvious markings. They circled once, then dropped a short distance away where the canopy had an opening. Ropes came down. Men and women slid along them with practiced ease. Black gear, helmets with visors, strange rifles with thick barrels and canisters attached, hard cases slung under arms. They moved straight through our loose perimeter without hesitation. "Hands off your weapons," one of them shouted at us in accented English. "Step back from the animal." We looked at each other. We were armed, filthy, exhausted. They were fresh, clean, and obviously not there for us. A couple of our guys raised rifles out of reflex. Anna barked at them to lower them. "These are friendly," she said, though her tone did not quite match the word. They fanned out around the fallen dinosaur. No one ran to Elena. No one checked the wounded. They barely glanced at the bodies in the mud. Instead, they opened their cases. Big syringes, strange dart guns, chains, canvas wraps. They fired more darts into the dinosaur's neck, chest, and legs, even though it was already half dead. Thick bands went around its jaw. They pulled a heavy hood, reinforced with something solid, over its head and cinched it tight. Chains locked around its legs and tail. Someone started setting up the sling under its body. Steel cables, pulleys, all ready as if they had rehearsed this plenty of times before. One of them, a clean man in a cap without any insignia except a small patch I did not recognize, walked over to Anna and me. His boots were spotless. That detail stuck out. "You met a very rare animal," he said in calm English. "Your report will state there was a large unknown predator, nothing more." He looked at my name tape, then back at my eyes. There was no threat in his tone. He did not need one. It was already there in his presence. He handed us a folder and a waterproof pouch. Inside is the wording for the official statement. "Your commands will receive the same. This incident is now a matter of national security. We will avoid panic. You understand." Behind him, another operator picked up Jay's little recording device from the mud. He checked it, saw it was still working, then dropped it and stepped on it. Plastic cracked. Our phones, cameras, anything electronic that had survived the swamp went into a sealed bag in their hands. We watched as they hooked the dinosaur's body to the sling cable that now hung from one of the hovering helicopters. The cable went taut. Mud and water poured off the huge carcass as it lifted slowly out of the hollow. It hung there, dripping, wrapped and hooded, swinging slightly as the helicopter rose. I noticed something then. On the second helicopter, parked a bit back, there was already a smaller crate slung underneath. Tarp over it, chains around it. For a moment, as the rotor wash hit it, the tarp rose and fell, not from the wind, but from something inside moving, breathing. One of the masked people saw my eyes on it. He held my gaze and gave the smallest shake of his head. A quiet, simple warning. Shut up. Forget what you saw. We stood there in the torn gully, surrounded by our dead, while the dinosaurs, one big, one smaller, flew away above the jungle, taken by people who had always known they were here. After that, everything blurred. We finally got pulled back to Manaus. Not by the same birds that had taken the dinosaur. Regular army birds. Marked, loud. They flew us out over endless green, then over the Black River, and dropped us at the same jungle base where it had all started. Some of us went straight to the infirmary. Some went to body bags and flights home. Debriefings came next. Small rooms, no windows. Stale coffee. Officers and civilians with blank faces and notebooks. We told our stories, but not the real ones. We stuck close to the script in the folder. Aggressive, unknown reptile, poor weather, training accident. We softened the details. Left out the part where it walked on two legs. Left out the crates, the darts, the chain body dangling from a helicopter. They slid non-disclosure agreements across the table. Made us sign papers saying we would never talk about the true details. Mentioned charges, careers, prison, all the usual words. Public news later called it an Amazon training accident. Several soldiers killed by a large animal during bad weather. Some reports mentioned a rare, aggressive crocodile. Others said, large unknown reptile. Nobody said dinosaur. That word stayed locked in the rooms and our heads. The dinosaur was gone. No mention of a carcass. No photos leaked that anyone could prove were real. Anything that surfaced online was dismissed as fake within hours. Trolls and bots tore it apart. I went back home eventually. Back to a base that smelled of dust instead of mud. Back to regular duty. Elena went home too. In her bag, hidden deep, she had a small bandage. On that bandage, dried in a patch not much bigger than a fingernail, was a scrap of that thing's blood. She had kept it when she treated Jay's burn, folded the gauze and tucked it away. At home, she put it under a basic microscope. Nothing fancy. She told me later what she saw. The cells did not look right to her. They were off in ways she could not explain. Too dense, too active. For a moment, she thought about sending it to a lab. Anonymous sample. Let some academic wake up screaming. Then she remembered the calm man in the camp. The way those black-clad people had moved. The crate already waiting on the second chopper. She burned the bandage in her sink. Watched the smoke curl up. Jay spent his nights online, back on his cryptid boards and weird story sites. He started finding old reports. Miners talking about big lizards that walked. Hunters seeing shadows crossing rivers. Villagers telling stories of old lizards that took people on stormy nights. The patterns matched what we had lived. Same area, same hints. No one had believed them either. Months passed. Some days I managed not to think about it. Most days I failed. One evening after a late shift, I got home and saw an unmarked envelope in my mailbox. No return address. Just my name, correct rank. Inside was a single printed satellite image, grainy black and white. The Amazon from above. Trees, a solid mass of dark. In one corner of the image, there was a cleared patch near a river bend, a logging cut or an old site. Crossing that clearing was a long, dark shape, bigger than the trucks parked near the edge. On the back, in neat handwriting, someone had written, 3 months after your mission, same region. I stared at the photo a long time. When I looked back at the front again, the shape on the clearing almost seemed to be turning its head toward the sky. Maybe my mind did that. Maybe not. Officially, it was just an animal attack. An accident during bad weather in a hard place. That is the line the reports will carry forever. But when I lie awake at night and hear distant thunder, I still feel the ground under my boots start to tremble. And I picture that forest down there, dark and endless, hiding things that no briefing, no report, and no order will ever name out loud. So that's the end of our video. If you made it this far, make sure to hit like and subscribe. It really helps the channel and it's free. And if you want more terrifying encounters like this one, check out the other videos on screen right now. Thanks for watching and stay safe out there. See you soon.